welcome to the Tavern, World Builders! Today we are talking about the Netflix show Arcane. Beware, here there be spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, be prepared. The second season is coming out next month, so we are very excited to chat with you about season 1 as we wait for that to release. I invite you to grab an ale, non-alcoholic always available, and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hi.
And Christiana.
Bonsoir.
And we are so happy to have you here. Cheers!
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 So for a little bit of background for anybody who hasn't watched the show, so first of all, it is actually based on a video game, so it is based on League of Legends. League of Legends doesn't really have a plot. It does have some lore about the characters, so that's kind of what's built on. Yeah, so that's kind of what's been pulled into the show, but the whole kind of plot of the show is very much its own thing. Mm-hmm. And while you do get some like extra kind of Easter eggs if you've played the game, you really don't need to have any familiarity with the game whatsoever to understand the show, which is always nice for an adaptation. Season 1 explores the origins of two iconic champions from the League of Legends game, sisters Vi and Jinx, in the districts of Piltover and Zaun. The show delves into the class divide between the affluent, technologically advanced Piltover and the oppressed, gritty underworld of Zaun. At the heart of the story is the conflict between magic and science, embodied in the discovery of Hextech, a way for anyone to be able to control magical energy. This innovation has the potential to reshape both worlds, but it also sparks political power struggles, personal betrayals, and intense rivalries, with sisters Vi and Jinx ending up on different sides of the conflict. Mm-hmm. To kick things off, we're going to have Happy Hour! This is where we're going to have our general thoughts and impressions of the show. So, what did y'all think? Allison, I know you've played League of Legends, right?
Yes.
Yes, and Christiana,
have you?
Played
a lot.
No, I'm terrified of online games because
Very
I'm a very
fair.
casual gamer and I just
Very
know
fair.
people would be upset with me, so.
Yes.
League of
Stay
Legends,
away.
the community is very toxic. It's very
Yes.
mean.
It's
on
that's
there.
legendarily toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also used to casually play. I haven't played in forever, but it's a pretty fun game if you get past the.
Yeah, if you're playing with friends, it's way better.
Yeah.
You don't get that.
Yeah. So what were your impressions of the show? First of all, it's gorgeous. The animation is stunning. Sorry, I asked you a question that I immediately brought up.
I loved it.
Yay!
I thought the voice acting was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
The art was gorgeous.
Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful show. So it's kind of like a 3D animated style thing for anybody who hasn't seen it, and it's beautiful. You should just look at it even if you don't want to watch it.
It feels like a style that will age well. And then it was fun knowing some of the characters from the game and sort of seeing them pop up and come to life, but also not really knowing anything about the story. Mm-hmm. Also, I didn't know a lot. You don't have to know any of the lore to play League of Legends, and I didn't know much of it. So that was really neat. And I just loved the character development. I think Jinx's descent into madness was really well done. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like the bond between sisters and how it breaks. It just got me. It got me in the gut. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
I absolutely adore the world building. It reminds me of Star Wars in a weird way, where it is kind of almost cyberpunk in some aspects, but then also there's I don't want to say alien creatures because I'm pretty sure they're native to the planet kind of thing, but
alien
it
to
just,
to real life people, these would be
I want to wander around Zaun kind of thing and Piltover. It was really rich and the art was fantastic. It almost reminded me of Borderlands in the tiniest way, where it's it's not quite cell shaded, but
the art style,
almost the art style is almost a little bit cell shaded like that. And I really wanted to love it, but I didn't. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love it.
That's okay. We can have differing opinions.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I felt disconnected from the characters and their motivation. I saw their growth and everything like that, but I just felt okay, your sister, spoiler that I'm sure we'll discuss later in the episode. Your sister abandons you for a mistake, and then now you're just pure crazy. I was wait, where's this? And I know that it's the motivation from Silco and everything like that, and like that, like manipulation and everything. And I got that, but I think some of the explanations maybe came a little late for me, is maybe the way I would describe it, as someone who was like pretty unfamiliar with the franchise. So
That's fair. Yeah, I had a hard, I don't know, this is one where I'm like, I liked it, it was fine, but I don't love it. I'm not like, oh, I need to see season 2 right away. I don't know if I will watch. I probably will, just because I have watched it and I always need something to watch. But, like, I don't know. It's not one that, like, really clicked with me, which I'm not sure why. I think it is, like, for some reason I wasn't as invested with the characters. I don't know if because it felt like, at times it felt like there was a lot going on. And so I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to connect with, or I don't know.
That was my one critique of the show, that I felt like it was trying to do a lot at once, especially because it's focusing on so many characters' stories. So you have Jinx and Vi, which are sort of the center of everything. But then you also have Jace, who's developing Hex Tech.
Yeah, who's in Pilt, so he's a Piltover.
He's in Piltover. You have Caitlyn in Piltover, who's daughter of nobles trying to do good. You have Heimerdinger. Also a character in the game, so that was awesome. He's adorable.
Yeah, and he's on, like, the council. And he was the one who was, like, first, like, you know, magic is bad and we shouldn't let people use it because it's too powerful and stuff.
Yep. You have Victor, who's helping Jace with experiments but has his own, you know, backstory. You have Mel, who's a new character, not from the game, who's a noble, seems to be manipulating a lot of things behind the background.
There's like 4 or 5 different plots going on. Which is a lot. So like definitely I think like Jinx and Vi are definitely like the heart and where I connected with the most. And then it's like, but it's like all of these other characters, I don't really care about them. Like I don't know that I've been given enough of a reason to care about them, which kind of dilutes the whole thing.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So I maybe would have preferred that they introduce some of, like, if they expand the world, maybe introduce some of those more Piltover like storylines maybe in the second season. I think might have helped.
I wonder if they did that simply to introduce as many League of Legends heroes as possible. I was trying to figure out why.
Kind of the feeling I got, where it felt like, I don't want to say fan service, because that feels like too harsh of a critique. Yeah. But it did feel like a little fan servicey, where I was like, I imagine if I played the game, I would be excited to see this person show up on the screen, but I haven't played this game, so it's just another person kind of thing. Like,
so I was really interested in that Silco is not a League of Legends character, and there are so many good villains.
And he's one of the
pick
main
from.
Villains in the show. Yeah.
So I was curious why they made an original villain, because there are so many villainous characters.
That is interesting. I didn't know
to
that.
Choose.
I have mixed feelings forever about disabled characters trying to fix themselves. And I don't have an issue with this. I don't have an issue with this character or this writing specifically. I have an issue with the trend as a whole. If that makes sense, where I'm like, oh, and he showed up with a cane and I was like, cool, I love that. I recognize that. I use a cane. And then it's like, and then he tried to fix himself. And I was like, oh my God. Like, can we move away from this? Like,
yeah. Well, is it different at all because he has a terminal illness? Like, he's going to die from it. Like, does that make it, like... I know you said it wasn't this... Like, I know the trope is more of the thing, the fact that it happens, like, all the time. But
yeah, the main issue is just it's constant.
It's just, so
I
don't have an issue with
particular
Victor.
Story.
Yeah. I don't have an issue with Victor, actually. I think that his motivation is pretty intriguing, and he's one of the characters that I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, he's a neat character.
So, yeah.
It's also interesting because I was looking up, like, I looked at some of the characters and stuff for before we started recording, and I don't know if this is mentioned in the show, but in the lore of League of Legends, his like terminal illness is actually caused because of the pollution of the Undercity that he grew up in. So it's like because he's oppressed and because he's grown up with all this pollution, he's now sick and dying, essentially. Is that a way that makes that trope a little bit better in the fact that it's not like an innate disability that is seen as bad, but it's like this was something that people did to you and now you're going to suffer for it? Like, is that, does that make it
think if you're trying to right a wrong, to some extent, but even then, there are a lot of people with disabilities in the real world who have those disabilities because they were wronged.
Yeah.
Right?
Or based on something beyond their control.
Yeah, and to kind of imply that their entire life's purpose is getting back to where they were before, instead of learning to adapt and embrace and celebrate themselves as they exist. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't fault this show because I do think it makes sense for the character, and I think he's an interesting character. It's just kind of, like I said, it's just the trend where eventually you're like...
if there was more or if there was more diverse representation, then it's like...
then it wouldn't stick out to me.
Singular narrative that's like, oh, again.
I've written an article specifically on villains with disabilities, which is also a trope. And, like, my issue isn't with any particular villain that has a disability. It's just that it happens so much.
Often.
And it's often to make the villain look creepier. Like, that's often the only purpose.
Quote-unquote monstrous to, like, have something.
So it's also interesting that they do that with Silco as well in his eye. Because putting the needle in the eye is very disturbing. So you do have that trope. And again, similar to Christiana, I don't have an issue with that. I think it's really interesting. And especially because we have other characters with disabilities in the show, it's not as bad.
Yeah. It's more balanced, which, with that, let's move over to Tavern Talk. So this is our deep dive into the world building. This is what you are here for, folks. So we are this season focusing on genre. So we're looking at the world building of certain genres and how the media that we watch either leans into or subverts tropes of that genre. So we had a bit of a thing trying to figure out what genre Arcane is in.
We originally slotted it as steampunk
because that's what it's advertised as. Like, everything calls it a steampunk show.
It looks very steampunk, the aesthetic.
But
it
doesn't really fit it. No, because the definition of steampunk is it's focused on tech, and primarily where it gets the name is steam tech. It's basically what if the Industrial Revolution had happened with steam instead of coal? So that's why you have all the steam-powered stuff. You have the goggles, you have the aesthetic, and it's typically set in a Victorian England, none of which applies to Arcane at all.
You still have some of the aesthetic with the goggles and the griminess.
And the gears and the copper pipes.
Gears.
But so it seems like it fits best where we put it is in, so sort of the broader category is science fantasy.
Yeah.
So that is a genre which blends, it's very, very appropriate name, it blends science and fantasy. It's there's aspects of tech, but there's also aspects of magic. And I think, Allison, you had even said that it might be a even more kind of niche genre within science
my husband
fantasy.
Actually was it's actually more like ether punk, which is a very specific type of genre that blends magic and tech.
What are the hallmarks? Do you know what the hallmarks of ether punk are?
So ether punk is societal structure partly or fully powered by the intertwining of magic and technology, which is very much actually what this first season of Arcane is about, with the development of hex tech, which, if you haven't watched the show, is basically trying to adapt magic into physical devices so that it can be used by anybody, which is what the character Jace is inventing.
Sorry, I was just looking at more about etherpunk, and I actually think it might not fit Arcane that great because typically it's more of a utopian society. It's science and magic blending to make a utopia for everybody, which is kind of
cool.
the case for half of it. Piltover is
Piltover's
very much
pretty utopian.
Yeah, and then but the interesting twist there is that it's built on the back of a Zon. And basically they get all, it's the
well, we're going to talk more in
area.
General about this Arcane as science fantasy, because I think that fits best.
It's just, it's so interesting when you get into all these little niche genres of it doesn't quite fit this, it doesn't quite fit that, so it's just it's kind of fun to see that.
Which I think makes it, I think that's part of what makes the world building in Arcane so exciting and so interesting, is that it doesn't quite fall into any specific niche category. I think that's what I really enjoyed about it. Like I said, I want to wander through those streets. I want to explore that. That's really cool. I have questions immediately, not plot ending questions, but I see something in the show and I'm like, that's cool. What is that?
Yeah.
I want to know more about that kind of thing. So
I feel like it does a really good job of blending magic with tech, because you have even the little the glowing orbs that Jace uses to power up. It's like, what is that? It's glowy. It's kind of magic-y. And even the sort of science that Jace and Victor do, you have like these sort of ruins, glowing ruins that appear in the air as they're working on stuff. And just like, obviously this isn't real science. It's magic-y science. And that's cool to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the tropes of science fantasy is having characters like studying magic and figuring out new ways to use it, which like Arcane definitely has. Like that is kind of like Jason Victor's whole thing is like studying magic. And they do it like they do the interesting thing of like, oh, but studying magic is actually like forbidden. Like you're not allowed to because like magic is so powerful. So they're kind of going rogue in their pursuit.
Also feel like that is also kind of a trope in,
forbidden
science
magic.
fantasy.
Definitely.
Forbidden magic, and also like harnessing a power that isn't meant to be harnessed. Right? Where it's like it's uncontrollable. You can't always dictate what's going to happen. You can't predict what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, and you see that right away in one of the first episodes where the kids are going to steal something and Jinx finds the little orbs.
Crystals,
little crystal orbs, and she drops one and it explodes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is really dangerous. And it also kills a woman when Victor is trying to do stuff later in an episode.
Yeah.
Which is horrifying.
Yeah.
That scene was so well done because he's in his office workshop, and she's walking up to him, and she's a side character that we haven't really seen before, and she's just like so nervous about telling Victor, like she obviously wants to ask him for help with her own research or something. It's like practicing her speech and what she's gonna say to him, and it's so cute, and the music is ominous, and you're like, what's about to happen?
Oh no!
And then it kills her.
Yeah, that scene got me actually quite a bit.
So they definitely embrace the sort of this is really dangerous.
Yeah. Which, is like a trope in, not specifically science fantasy, but like broader fantasy. So it's like bringing that into the like blend.
And even sci-fi, like the sort of trope of like, you got to take risks for inventions and for development.
Even in very light science fiction and horror, I'm thinking it reminded me a lot of the movie Nope by Jordan Peele. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
No.
Oh, I don't want to spoil it for you or the listeners because it's so good. But basically it's about like the folly of trying to tame the untamable. Kind of thing is like the best way I would describe it. You see it a lot in a lot of any kind of science fiction or fantasy. Here's this thing that can't be controlled, and I'm going to be the one who can control it. No matter it being magic or a creature or a political system or anything else, right? It's like, oh, I'm the one. I'm the one who's going to tame the untamable.
I'm the exception.
So.
This couldn't possibly do anything bad to me.
Yeah, I think you see that with Victor a lot, actually, too.
Yeah.
So.
Fantasy aliens is like another trope, which this kind of has, but kind of doesn't, because like as we touched on, like there's like non-human races, but they're all native to the same planet. So like they're not aliens, but they are
kind of fantasy. That might be more fantasy-ish because you have other species in fantasy a lot. But sort of inventing your own species or your own alien is more of a sci-fi thing. Like fantasy often uses your traditional, elves, dwarves, etc. So you have, I can't remember what Heimerdinger's species is called.
Adorable.
Oh yeah, adorable. Yeah, Yordle. Yeah. So you have. Was that the? Do we see any other besides Yordles and humans?
I don't.
That might be the.
So. Yeah, there's more. I know, like in League of Legends, there's more. So maybe they'll pop up later. But I think right now we've only seen humans and Yordles.
So I like that blend. I think they did that really, really well.
Another hallmark of science fantasy is called functional magic, which is like magic that can be reliably used to do things, which I think in Arcane is definitely like Hextech crystals, because those power a ton of stuff, and like anybody can use them essentially. It's not like a specialized
although in Arcane they're not widely available because they're just being developed.
I have a question about that trope, because I am gonna cross my mouth while I say the forbidden name of J.K. Rowling, invented flu flames, for example.
Flu
like
powder,
flu
yeah.
flames and flu powder is like a very functional magic that.
Yeah.
But I guess you have to be a wizard or a witch. Also, screw J.K. Rowling for forcing us into the gender binary.
Yeah.
I'm going to use every opportunity to dunk on her. But I guess, that's kind of different because it's only set to magic users versus everyday
versus
folks.
Everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Muggle can't pick up a wand and do something with it.
Yeah. So functional magic, meaning magic that can be used reliably to do certain things, whether you're a magic user or not.
Yeah, it's like the magic is like, I guess, independent. Like it's its own entity kind of thing.
I will say, as a League of Legends players, seeing them develop the giant gauntlets first was amazing because that's what Vi uses in the game.
Oh.
She has these giant mechanical gauntlets. And so, like, seeing Jace holding it and, like, showing it to Heimerdinger or whoever he was showing it to, I'm like, oh, Vi's gonna get those. That's cool.
Look at this tech.
Yeah.
Another trope that I see in this show that I feel like I see in a lot of science fantasy is this kind of idea of like the ragtag team pulling off a heist. And then also the fallout from that heist. I feel like you see that a lot. I'm thinking also of like the Dungeons and Dragons movie, for example, where the whole thing is getting the one artifact. And then the fallout of that is the team is separated and all those things. I feel like it does follow that trope to some extent.
Mm-hmm. Heists are like, I feel like heist is it could almost even be its own genre, and then the fallout of the heist going bad. So but I do also feel like you're right that like in science fantasy that's particular. I think something about the aesthetic. There's just something about like, we gotta gather the streets, and you're like, we gotta do a heist. It's just like
the development of new technology is getting stolen. Maybe, that kind of.
Totally.
Although in Arcane, they don't even know what they're stealing, which is funny.
Yeah.
They're just like, rich person, let's go take their stuff.
That's a good point. That does subvert it to some extent, because I feel like a lot of science fiction and fantasy is like, even in Star Wars, it's like, we need to get the codes kind of thing, right? Like, there's this whole heist around getting this one specific thing. So I guess it does subvert it in some sense, where it's like, it is that trope. It is we gathered together a ragtag team of like people with a variety of experiences and expertise to get something. We don't know what the something is, which is like kind of interesting.
Like they didn't gather together a team. This is what they're stuck with. This is who they are. They're just trying to survive in Zon, which is a horrible place to be.
Which I think in fantasy you see that a little bit more with like the team of pickpockets. Sometimes that's like the instigating factor in fantasy. I'm thinking of, I'm blanking on the name. But there's like a popular fantasy series where it starts with a girl who's a pickpocket and she has her team, or even Six of Crows, or even in Shadow and Bone, where it's just, two against the world or a group against the world kind of thing, doing their stuff. And then something happens, someone gets lost in the mission, or something goes wrong, and that's what instigates the story.
Well, and Arcane does set up this two against the world narrative, where it's Jinx and Vi, and then it totally explodes that when they...
the world wins,
The world wins, yeah.
That's a really good way to put it, Emma, actually. That's like...
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So it kind of does really subvert that trope, right? Like, it's like usually you expect the team to stick together and like the scrappy underdogs win. It's like, no, sometimes the world steps on you. And
because Zon is a terrible place and it breaks them.
Yeah. So I liked it. I think I enjoyed the first couple episodes, I think, a bit more. Because it was released in like phases or series. Yeah. So I liked the first part the best. Because that to me, I was like, oh, this is cool. I like the underbelly. I like the world. I like this kind of connection.
I mean, I loved seeing what happened to these characters as they were pushed into different areas of the world. So Vi gets put into prison, and Jinx gets adopted basically by Silco.
Who runs this like criminal underground
Yeah.
network, essentially. Yeah.
And so seeing what happens to both of them and how their paths diverge, I thought was really interesting. Also, Vi and Caitlin's relationship is my favorite thing in the whole show.
It is really good.
So cute.
Yeah, the like very structured kind of class hierarchy and stratification, that is very much kind of like a steampunk thing, though, because like again, because it's based on like Victorian times, which was very like you know, class stratified. So like Arcane kind of blends a bunch of genres together, which is very interesting, like having elements from a few different things kind of put into this one show. And they work. Like, all of these kind of things kind of work together. Like, none of the issues that we had with it had to do with genre. It was like, oh, maybe they
or
tried
the
to do
world
too
building.
much.
Like, the world building is impeccable. I also like that it does take the trope of, like, genius inventor who has a tool for everything, and that's the character's foil. Like, that is satisfying to me, because I feel like you also see that a lot. I think more so in science fiction than fantasy. But someone who's like, and I'm stuck in a corner. Good thing I have the bomb of fixing
my sonic
the plot.
Screwdriver. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, it'll fix everything. And she does it, and it doesn't work. And that's like actually her whole character motivation is...
She being Jinx. Sorry, I don't know. If
She's literally Jinx.
Jinx is... really wants to invent things, and you see in the first episode she paints everything these really bright colors. She has these little bomb things that she's developed, and I think several times she tries to use them and they don't work.
Yeah.
Then they do end up working.
The one time it does work, she, spoiler, kills almost her whole family except for Vi.
Yeah.
That scene was so devastating.
Oh my goodness. There's a shot of like the one kid's goggles flying with like just like a splash of blood on them, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is so dark and sad.
Her face when Vi comes running up to her afterwards is she's so proud of herself because she finally helped. Jinx finally helped and wasn't the Jinx she thinks, because she was trying to help them escape. And her bomb worked. She thought it was just going to be a distraction. And Vi is like, you did this? Like, you killed everyone. And then the drop in her expression. Like, the animation is so good. And the voice acting.
Yeah.
And what gets me so much in that scene is that Vi hits her. Which was like, oh, you know,
Isn't
that in
bad?
itself. That's bad. And then Vi steps away. And Jinx thinks that Vi has abandoned her, and then Vi gets taken by authorities, and it's like she just needed a moment. Like, she just needed a second, and then she was going to go back to Powder or Jinx, and then she doesn't, and that's like the whole arc of Jinx characters, thinking that Vi abandoned her.
Which is actually a great use of a trope that normally is awful, which is the miscommunication trope.
Yep.
Which is not specific to science fantasy, but is, of course, just like a general trope. And usually it sucks, but in this case, it works because there's an actual reason for it. It's not just characters being stupid or like being like, wait, I can explain, and then not explaining.
And then
it's
standing there with their mouth agape for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, which is an amazing, because it's, and like that's one of like, you know, my most hated tropes. It's one of a lot of people's most hated tropes because it usually sucks. But the fact that they did it so well is very impressive. That it actually made sense.
And they do it twice. They do it once when Jinx is listening to a conversation that Vi has with I forget what the kid's name is. He dies so quickly. Milo. And Vi says something that sounds like she's talking down about Jinx, but then the next sentence is her defending Jinx. But Jinx leaves before she hears the rest of the sentence.
Yeah,
and
but
so
it's
you have
resolved
that little seed.
Almost immediately, which is what I like.
Yeah,
like with Vi following up with Powder at the time before she becomes Jinx, saying and taking her out and onto the rooftop and saying, "Okay, yeah, you failed in this mission, but here's the one time that Milo failed. Here's the one time that I failed." Like pointing out all these instances of like, we all sometimes fail.
I
That's
feel like
okay.
there's still that seed planted in Jinx, though, because
Yeah.
what if she's just saying these things? 'Cause I just overheard her talking bad about me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the seed of the distrust. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it grows, and then it happens again,
Mm-hmm.
and she thinks she's been abandoned, and then
Yeah.
Jinx goes crazy. So
Poor Jinx. So
I
tragic.
know.
This brings us to Proprietor's Pick.
Yay!
Allie, what do you have for us that's similar to Arcane? Is it League of Legends?
It is. Yeah, go play League of Legends. No, actually, I really don't recommend
We
that
can't,
to
in
anyone.
good faith, recommend playing League of Legends.
Even though I really enjoyed the game itself. Anyway, not League of Legends. I actually picked a book that I have read. I got an advance copy of it, and it was amazing. And it's called The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. Came out last month. Full of clandestine power struggles and the battles between gods, the story follows Hakara, a young woman searching for her missing sister and who will do anything to find her, even lead a rebellion against the gods themselves. It has really neat world building where the world is split into many realms that are slowly being restored by a god, but this restoration changes the environment and transforms the people into monsters or makes them disappear entirely.
Yucky.
And so at the beginning of the book, these two sisters are running as their realm is being changed, and they're trying to get into another realm. And Hakara, it's unclear to her little sister whether she abandons her or not.
Oh.
And so you have that same sort of sisterly bond. Yeah.
Allison.
I know.
You're like, what's the saddest part about Arcane, and how can I make them suffer again?
A bunch of kids also get blown up.
Yeah, and so Hakara ends up on the other side of the realm, like on a different realm than her sister. And she's like constantly working to get back to her sister, but her sister doesn't know that and thinks she's been abandoned. And so it's like very arcane-ish. It's not, it's, I would say, pure high fantasy.
Gotcha.
So you don't have the science element, but very similar themes.
Yeah.
And so good. Such interesting world building. I really recommend it.
Oh, very cool. Time for last call. So here are some concluding thoughts and questions that we have gleaned from Arcane that we think you can apply to your world building. Allie, what do you think that we can learn from Arcane in terms of building worlds?
If you're writing science fantasy, it's really important to think about how those elements interact with each other, because you might find sometimes your story might end up being a little bit more fantasy or a little bit more science fiction, which is fine. But you need to really think about, like, if this science exists or if this magic exists, what does that mean for the other? So, like, if this magic exists, what does that mean for the science? So, like, if you have magic that lights up rooms, like you have magic orbs that work as lights, would electricity even be invented? You know, like, if you have heat sources that are magic or vice versa. And then also what your inventions, it's always fun thinking about what your inventions can be used for that wasn't the original purpose. In real world example, you know, certain inventions that started as something else and then became used for something. So I find that really interesting. And important to think about when you're combining technology and magic.
Yeah. Christiana, what have you taken from Arcane that can be applied to world building?
How can technology, magic, whatever you've built in the world shape a character's motivation? And the idea is sometimes it's kind of helpful to think, like, if I had a hex crystal right now, right here, right now, in this time and in this world, what would I use it for? Right? Because it's important to think of how other characters would use it and ensure that every character has a different approach. But sometimes when you invent a technology, there have been some books I've read, for example, where it's like, oh, they have this thing. And then they're going into battle and I'm thinking, why aren't you using this thing? Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's helpful to just like stop and take a step back from the world a little bit and just take that one world building piece that you've created and think, if I had this right here, right now, what would I do with it? And I think Victor like I mentioned earlier, I don't like the trope of disabled folks fixing themselves constantly in media. But I think that's actually a pretty fair assessment of what Victor might do with that crystal, right? As someone who's also disabled and he has a chronic illness and uses a cane, I might have that in my hand and think, how can I make the pain go away? Right? Which is not all the other characters are thinking. The other characters are thinking, how can I use it as a bomb? How can I use it to power a city? How can I use it for XYZ? So sometimes it is helpful to kind of remove yourself for a moment and think, what would realistically, it fell in my lap, what would I do with it? So
yeah.
And then take that further and what would my character do?
Exactly.
Yeah. I would say one thing that I think is really useful to take from Arcane is the idea of, and I think I'm going to give myself a gold star because I think it really fits into our whole discussions of genre, which is like, don't feel too beholden to a genre. And that's especially in drafting. Like when you're drafting, you should not even be thinking about genre. Just like write what you want to write, and then you can go back and like fix up stuff later as you have to. But once you get to the point where you're thinking about, okay, what kind of genre am I writing in? Where is this going to be shelved? Once you get to the point where you're starting to think about like what genre it is, where it might be shelved, because genre is pretty much a marketing thing, then don't be afraid to mix and match. Like we saw in Arcane, it's got elements of heist, it's got elements of steampunk, it's mostly science fantasy, but it's not sticking so strongly just to one thing. So don't be afraid to pull in other elements. Just make sure that you understand what you're doing and you understand the tropes of various genres if you are going to be blending them.
I think you can do it both ways. I don't think it's one or the other. I think if you want to have a clear idea of genre before you start writing, it can be helpful and if you don't, that's fine. Like what Emma says is also valid. It just means if you follow what Emma said, you might have a lot more work in like the editing section. And if you go with having a clear idea of what genre and stuff you want to write first, you might have a lot more work on the earlier stages. So it's just like depends like what stage
we
of
fall
work,
back to the eternal debate of pantser versus plotter.
Pantser versus plotter kind of thing. And they're both valid.
That's fair.
In case you don't know what pantser versus plotter is, pantser is someone who just kind of flies by the seat of their pants and writes as they feel.
Sits down and starts writing.
You just sit down, you start writing, and a plotter is someone who's like, this is the first act, this is the second act, this is the third.
This is what's going to happen.
Structures it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm while both things are valid, I do think that genre as classification is mostly a marketing thing. It's so that people know where to put books on bookshelves.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't think, so it's not that you can't think about it. My point was more like you don't have to think about it while you're drafting. Like you don't have to worry about that. But then at some point you do have to think about it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying it might be easier to, if your goal is like traditional publishing. Yeah. It might be easier if you think about it first. But it really depends on what your goals are and how your
the
process
tagline
works.
of our podcast. It depends.
But at some point you have to think about genre, and at that point you should, you don't have to stick to just the tropes of one specific genre or whatever. You can mix and match things, and it'll be fine. You'll have a great story. Unfortunately, this does bring us to closing time. We would love to stay longer, but these dishes aren't going to wash themselves. Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern. If you just can't bear the thought of waiting 2 whole weeks for another episode, you should absolutely join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/WorldBuildersTavern for our world building workshops, which are monthly bonus episodes of the podcast where we build a specific element of a world. This month, we are building a city, which is very exciting. I don't know if that's up already or if it's going to be coming up. I don't remember when this episode is going out, but you either will be able either you can listen to it right now or it's coming shortly. In our show notes, we have a link to help a Palestinian family escape Gaza if you have resources to help with that. And you can also connect with the podcast on TikTok at World Builders Tavern and on Discord, where we are the World Builders Tavern. We hope to serve you here again soon, but until next time, scram.
Bye.
Get out of here.